Namaskar, sir.
Shri Pankaj Agrawal ji, Vice Chairman, GL Bajaj Education Institutions, respected Professor C.K. Sabarwal ji, Professor Dr. Ajay Kumar ji, esteemed experts, scholars, and very dear students, inspired by the very young and dynamic, charismatic Master of Ceremony today, let me also begin with a Sanskrit couplet. Yad yad acharati shrestha tat eva itaro janah sa yat pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. It says that great men set examples and show others by their examples, by their conduct, and others follow that standard. So let me begin by applauding the initiative taken by this institute for hosting this mega research conclave on an important, topical, indeed very critical contemporary issue of COVID-19. I'm particularly glad to learn that young students are not only going to have a retrospective analysis of the economic impact of the pandemic, but also going to look into the future and imagine the new evolving order and come up with their assessments of trends and also policy recommendations for the government and for the industry of India. This really is a very heartening, very good example for all other institutions of India to follow. As has been very eloquently explained by the Master of Ceremony and also Professor Ajay Kumar ji, Corona is a real black swan event, and it has been a very big disruptor. And in many ways, it is truly unprecedented because it is truly global in nature. All countries, all continents have been affected. The earlier big contingencies like Spanish influenza or even the Second World War, they had a relatively smaller geographical spread and impact. And look at the horizontal spread and also the impact. Corona has, as of today, hit about 110 million people and 2.5 million deaths. And impact has been across geographies, developed countries, underdeveloped countries, poor and elite. This is very, very unprecedented in terms of the impact. And also it's not just a health crisis, but also a major disruption of normalcy in every sense of the word and exchange, not only across countries, but also domestically. It has forced upon us a lifestyle and behavior change. And impact has not been limited to economic side, but also social, cultural, political, and also caused a paradigm shift in the notion of national security as well. The global economic impact has been very profound, and according to estimates, about $8.8 to $9 trillion loss in the global economy, about 9-10% of GDP. And IMF expects that to 2020, the global economic contraction has been about 4.4%. And impact has been across industrial sectors, but some of the key sectors which are impacted very, very drastically, very severely are like food and beverage and retail and clothing, the hospitality, the automotive, the education sector, travel and tourism, sports, entertainment, real estate. These have been really very hit, and they have caused very, very significant risk of unemployment. Only two sectors have benefited from this crisis. One is online retail, and last year the online retail global revenue was about $3.9 trillion. Second was pharmaceutical sector, and particularly the vaccine manufacturers, Moderna and AstraZeneca. They have seen their stocks shooting up several 100%. But even in these two sectors, the benefit has been very uneven and concentrated in a few important circles. And unemployment is staring at most of countries' faces. In US alone, about 37 million jobs were vulnerable to layoff. There is because of the combination of factors, there is a growing challenge of declining purchasing power of the poor. And pre-existing economic disparities in many countries, they are becoming very deep and also assuming alarming proportions. There's another aspect of food insecurity. The World Food Programme estimates that 271.8 million people are actually food insecure, are directly at the risk of becoming so due to the corona crisis. This year, WFP estimates that 235 million people will need humanitarian assistance and protection. And about 40% increase has been witnessed because of COVID-19 pandemic directly. Another dimension is that expatriate workforce has been very badly hit, and there is a consequent drop in remittance. And this is a very particular concern for us because India has been the largest recipient of remittances from abroad, from our diaspora, about $80 billion remittance per year. And so far, friends, not only the government of India, but governments all over the world have been so far focused on saving lives. But in due course, they will have to cope with the challenges of growing unemployment and malnutrition and other issues. And on one hand, government revenues are declining. On the other hand, people's expectations are rising and frustration and anger is spreading. Therefore, there is a risk of social tension and law and order issues, security issues, political stability issues in some countries, particularly which have fragile economies and also fragile political systems. In many countries, the handling of corona within the country has been so polarizing that the public and political opinion has been bitterly divided, and it has resulted in an increase in social tension. All top economies, whether they are developed world or the G20 members and also major southern economies of BRICS have been major victims of pandemic also. But it is the LDCs which are most vulnerable. They have very narrow export basket. They have a high dependency on one or two products and raw materials and hydrocarbons, and they have been very badly hit because of a drop in demand and also lowering of the prices. And particularly among the LDCs, among the countries in Africa, those are most vulnerable, which already have pre-existing high debt stress levels. And most African countries in LDC segment are already spending more on debt servicing than on healthcare. And unfortunately, the highly indebted LDCs do not have resources to generate for economic stimulus packages as many of us have been able to do, nor they have the space for borrowing from other countries, from external sources. And also, given the spread of the pandemic and given the domestic political compulsions, all countries, all governments will be forced to give priority to their own people and creating employment for their own nationals and stimulating their domestic economy. Therefore, we expect that there will be a severe resource crunch as far as international development assistance is concerned. At the same time, as Dr. Ajay Kumarji mentioned, because of the lack of transparency about the origin and also the handling of that issue in one country, has caused kind of uncertainty and eroded the mutual trust and confidence in the international system. And their efficacy and their representativeness has been exposed very badly. Also, because of the lack of global coordination regarding the vaccine distribution, it is estimated that people in the conflict-affected areas and poorer countries, they are going to be hit badly. ICRC estimates that more than 60 million people are at risk that even if vaccine is available, they are not able to access it. And also there is a glaring disparity in the accessibility of vaccine globally. Access to vaccines is important for mitigating the impact of the pandemic in all countries, because unless we have a global immunity, it will not help. Also, the routine immunity, because of priority given to the handling of the corona pandemic, many other routine activities on healthcare front have been put aside. For example, it is estimated that about 80 million children in 68 countries are at risk of diphtheria, measles, and polio. While the corona situation is still evolving and it is very fraught with uncertainty to project it, extrapolate it in the future, with your approval, I wish to share my personal impressions, how I see things evolving. Please treat it as my personal view. First of all, the corona has brought upon us a very significant behavioral change. We had not anticipated that we will very quickly adapt to such kind of situation like work from home and doing e-business and conducting our business and dialogue through online platforms, webinars and video conferences. And not just people like us, but also heads of states. Our Prime Minister has been a very, very dynamic in terms of digital use of digital platforms for conducting high-level summit meetings, even joint bilateral meetings, full-fledged multilateral summits. These are new ways of doing things. These are cost-effective options, but at the same time, it open up a large area for us to innovate and be creative by use of new technologies, artificial intelligence, and tele-education and telemedicine, teleconsultation. So this is the positive side of it. The flip side is that as the world has become more digital, there are also new challenges emerging about the safety and reliability of our digital network, the issue of cyber crimes and cyber security. And some of these issues have acquired a kind of strategic dimension. The reliability and safety of our digital communication, digital network, and the kind of havoc it can play if hostile forces sabotage and subvert our systems of digital networks. Similarly, there is acute need for all of us to think in terms of more trusted and resilient supply chains. De-risking and diversification of evolving trajectories of the new global supply chain will be very, very significant. Also, every country is now coping with the questions of localization versus globalization. How much to focus on local issues? How do you promote the usual trend of globalization? There is an urgent need for UN systems because their credibility, their representativeness has been very badly questioned during this period. Also, I feel that in the years to come, in the times to come, the democratic and pluralistic market-based rule of law-based policies and countries will have a greater convergence of interests to work together to ensure that the new evolving order moves in the right direction. I can also share with you what our approach, the Government of India's approach has been. As our Prime Minister, Honorable Modi ji mentioned, in the post-COVID world, we need a new template of globalization based on fairness, equity, equality, and humanity. We need international institutions that are more representative of today's world. We need to promote human welfare and not focus on economic growth alone. And we were very fortunate that the country had the leadership of a visionary, far-sighted leader like Prime Minister Modi, who even during the corona crisis kept the approach of Government of India firmly rooted in the spirit of Sarve Bhavantu Sakhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. And while we remained very vigorously involved within the country to revamp our healthcare systems and provide food to vulnerable people, about more than 800 million people, and providing direct relief to more than 500 million Indians who in their bank accounts. And also taking this opportunity of the crisis to unleash new wave of reforms and convert this crisis into opportunity by launching very ambitious Atma Bharat mission with $267 billion worth of outlay. And this, while handling within the country the internal movement of workers from one state to other state, about 10 million people. Also, in the Ministry of External Affairs, we had to, while doing this all, we had to cope with repatriation of very large number of Indians who were stranded abroad. And the Vande Bharat mission, which we had to coordinate, has become the history's largest ever repatriation exercise. About 4.5 million Indians have been brought back from about 150 countries. Involving about 18,000 flights, 8 naval operations, and large number of land border crossings. And on the development assistance side, the government of India supplied critical medicines, diagnostic kits, ventilators, PPEs, and other COVID-related medical assistance to about 150 countries and to about 80 countries on grant basis. We also deployed medical rapid response teams to 4 countries, Kuwait, Maldives, Comoros, and Mauritius. India has been part of the G20 debt service suspension initiative. And in the region, SARC COVID response fund was launched, and India was the first contributor of US $10 million. In the capacity building and sharing of experience under Indian Technical Economic Cooperation Program handled by DPA, we hosted series of webinars to share our experience and best practices and learn from other countries, involving about 1,500 foreign experts in different countries. Currently, friends, we are engaged in Vaccine Maitri. The government of India has committed 9 million doses as grant to 55 countries as gift. And total about 23 million doses of vaccines have already been supplied, and out of which 6.5 million doses are as grant, rest under commercial exports. And within India, government is engaged in world's largest vaccination drive, which will involve 300 million people to be vaccinated. And also to deal with the continuing impact of Corona pandemic, there is a concerted effort, sustained collaborative global effort, which is spearheaded by Honorable Prime Minister Modi and our very dynamic, charismatic Foreign Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, personally. At the global level, the coordination of the post-Corona vaccine supply and healthcare front, and also the larger evolution of the new world order. We are in it very, very actively. Friends, as our sages have reminded us, Atmaiva Atmano Bandhu, Atmaiva Ripuratmana. Oh, the people of India need to find innovative solutions for their own. We, country of this size, cannot depend on others to help us. And if India becomes Atmanirbhar, then we will have ever more capacity to effectively contribute to the universal well-being. To my young colleagues, young students who are engaged in this platform, I can share with them that our leadership, Prime Minister Modi, attaches highest importance to tapping the historic opportunity of Indian youth. And that is why he has put in place very ambitious schemes and incentives to encourage startups and young entrepreneurs and innovators and researchers. And we are very, very confident that under Honorable Prime Minister Modi's leadership, India today will play an active role in shaping the new world order. And also it will be a democratic stabilizing anchor in the new world order. And therefore, friends, my message to you is that be positive, build on the positives that you see, and find constructive, innovative solutions for any systemic or societal problems or deficiencies that you see. And that we must treat all other fellow Indians with mutual respect and mutual understanding and compassion in the spirit of cooperation and mutual help. Sangachadhvam samvadadhvam samvo manansi janatam. I wish all of you a very bright future, and I wish and pray for our country's glorious future. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Akhilesh Mishra sir. Thank you for sharing such rich insights about the conclave theme. Your varied experience has benefited all of us. You rightly mentioned that great men set examples, and by their conduct, we people follow the same. Corona, yes, was a black swan and a disruptor. All sectors have been impacted, and the benefited sectors were online retailing and pharmaceutical. You were very much right in saying that, sir, that this corona has brought a behavioral change in all of us, whether it be work from home, way of living, or e-business startups and all that. Thank you so much, sir. We strongly hope that your address would have paved way to understand the criticality of the current pandemic situation. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Let's have a huge round of applause for Akhilesh Mishra, sir. May I humbly request all the participants to mute their mics, please. Akhilesh sir, your leadership and accomplishments are an inspiration to us. We feel privileged to honor you with a lifetime honorary membership of ICPEI as a token of appreciation for your contribution towards industry-academia collaboration. Let's have a huge hand for sir. Thankfulness is the quickest path to joy and a powerful catalyst for happiness. It is a matter of great delight and jubilation to felicitate our chief guest, Ambassador Akhilesh Mishra ji, with a token of thankfulness for his gracious presence. IT team, I request